Unit 13. Listening Part 2. Exercise 4.
Hi. So, as part of our project on historic local buildings, I thought I'd tell you about the house where I live. My mum and dad bought it when I was about 7, so we've been there for about 8 years now. It isn't all that old. It was built about 15 years ago, but it's on the site of a much older place dating back to the 15th century, which fell down. Anyway, why I'm telling you all this is because we're pretty sure the house is haunted. I mean, it's got ghosts. Yeah, you can laugh, but I'm not joking. I know because I know several people, myself included, who have had some strange experiences there. Yeah, you may think I'm just telling you a story, but a couple of years ago I remember my mum and dad had invited all sorts of relatives to one of those big family celebrations, and we were all sitting round after lunch. I was playing some game with my cousins, and my grandma was telling everyone about her visits to the doctor or something, when my uncle suddenly went pale and dropped his coffee cup. Grandma thought he'd been taken ill or something because of her stories, but he said he'd just seen a group of men dressed up as medieval soldiers go past the window. We cousins ran outside to take a look, but there was nobody there. Anyway, when he'd calmed down, he described their appearance in quite a lot of detail, so he wasn't just making it up. Then, a couple of months later, a friend of my mum's was staying with us. My mum was busy in her study and I was watching football on the telly in the sitting room when the friend came rushing out of the kitchen, shouting and hollering that he'd seen the table sort of float across the room. I've never seen a grown-up tremble like he did. So when we went to look, the table had actually moved, and it's one of those really heavy old oak ones. It took 3 of us to push it back, so he couldn't have done it on his own. Anyway, I'm not sure if it's because of the things which have happened, but when I'm studying in my room, I sometimes feel as if there's someone standing behind me, sort of breathing down my neck, and checking what I'm doing like it's one of my teachers. I mean, I can feel the breath, but when I turn round, there's no one there. That shakes me up a bit. Anyway, my mum complained that she was experiencing the same thing, so she got the builders in and she had the old garage at the back of the house turned into a study so she could work there instead, without being interrupted by these uninvited visitors. Then, my dad got the whole house checked by a specialist in supernatural phenomena, a sort of ghost hunter. She checked local history records, and apparently the house is actually located somewhere where, after one of those invasions, a battle took place a few hundred years ago with lots of fighting, so there could be quite a few bodies buried there. Weird, isn't it? A bit later, my dad decided to have a tennis court built in a corner of the garden, so he and I could play together. Anyway, one of the workers was on his own there one morning when he felt someone watching him. When he turned round, he saw something which literally made his hair stand on end. A man standing there with a white shirt covered in blood. The lad shouted, and the man just disappeared. When we questioned him, he was gibbering and shaking. He didn't know anything about the other supernatural experiences people have been having. My mum's getting a bit fed up with all these happenings, but my dad doesn't mind them so much. You see, he's only down here at weekends because he works in London during the week.